In the heart of the African savannah, where the sun paints the grasslands in hues of gold, there lived a majestic lion whose roar echoed the very essence of power. He was known not only for his fearsome strength, but also for his strategic brilliance on the hunt. One dawn, as the sky blushed with the promise of a new day, the lion awoke with the instincts of a seasoned hunter. He stretched, his muscles rippling beneath his tawny fur, and sniffed the air. A zebra's scent lingered in the air, a reminder of his previous night's triumph. He had managed to capture a swift and elusive prey, and now the thought of a hearty breakfast warmed his belly. However, his moment of relaxation was short-lived, for as he made his way to his well-earned meal, he noticed something that made the hackles on his neck rise. A group of hyenas, notorious for their scavenging ways, were closing in on his kill. Their eyes, like chips of yellow ice, glistened with both hunger and mischief. The lion knew these scavengers were not merely interested in sharing a meal, but had come to steal his hard-earned catch. These hyenas were led by a matriarch known as Scarface. She had a jagged scar that bisected her left eye, giving her an air of perpetual sneering. Her cunning was matched only by her voracious appetite, and as the lion stood there surveying the situation, his amber eyes narrowed to slits. He knew he had a decision to make. Should he fight to keep what was his risk injury in a battle of attrition, or should he let the hyenas take his meal and seek another source of food? Before the lion could ponder further, Scarface, the hyena matriarch, stepped forward. Her eyes locked onto the prize, the zebra carcass, and then flicked up to meet the lion's gaze. She knew the risks of confronting a lion, but she was willing to take the chance. Her pack was strong, numbering close to 20 adults, all of them seasoned scavengers with a taste for stolen meat. Scarface let out a shrill cackle, a sound that was more taunt than greeting. Then, in a voice that was surprisingly deep, she challenged the lion. "You have had your fill, big cat. Now it's time for the scavengers to dine." The lion's response was a low rumble that vibrated in his chest. He didn't budge, his paws planted firmly on the ground, his tail lashing back and forth. The standoff continued, the air thick with tension as the hyenas closed in, their eyes never leaving the lion. Then one bold young male hyena broke ranks. He edged forward, keeping a wary eye on the lion. The lion watched him, his gaze unwavering. The hyena took a step closer, then another. It was a test of wills, and for a moment, the lion remained still, letting the hyena get closer. But when the scavenger was within striking range, the lion pounced. The hyena yelped as the lion's massive paw slammed into his shoulder. The force of the blow sent the hyena sprawling, crashing into his companions. The lion, in a blur of tawny muscle, was on top of the fallen hyena in an instant. His teeth were bared, ready to strike the final blow. But before he did, a chorus of cackles erupted from the remaining hyenas. They had expected such a bold move from the lion. They were ready. In a flash, several hyenas lunged at the lion, their sharp teeth and claws aimed at his flanks and face. The lion roared, shaking off the hyena under him and swiping at the newcomers with his paws. He landed a solid blow on one hyena, sending it reeling. But there were too many attackers. The lion found himself outnumbered, his movements restricted by the clinging hyenas. He lashed out blindly, catching another hyena with a swipe of his paw. Yet, despite their wounds and yelps of pain, the scavengers refused to back down. They continued their assault, their numbers bolstering their courage. The lion, sensing the tide turning against him, knew he couldn't hold out much longer. His amber eyes scanned the landscape, searching for an escape or an advantage. He had to act fast. Spotting a large boulder nearby, the lion executed a strategic move. With a Herculean effort, he shook off the hyenas still latched onto him and lumbered towards the rock. The hyenas, recovering from their wounds, realized the lion's intent. They scrambled after him, their barks echoing across the savannah. The lion reached the boulder and turned just in time to see the hyenas gaining on him. He braced himself for the impact, but instead of charging forward, the hyenas abruptly halted. The lion looked at them in confusion. Why had they stopped? Had they finally decided to abandon their attack? But then he saw it. The hyenas were staring at something behind him. The lion slowly turned, his gaze following theirs, and what he saw made his hackles rise. Another pride of lions. His pride had arrived on the scene. Led by his mate, they were ready to defend their territory and their kill. The sight of the backup lions bolstered the first lion's strength. He let out a triumphant roar that mingled with the arrival roars of his kin. The hyenas, sensing the shifting power dynamics, knew it was time to retreat. They slinked away from the kill, their tails between their legs, their earlier bravado forgotten. As the hyenas disappeared into the tall grass, the lion turned back to his meal. Despite being battered and weary, he had held his ground. His mate, seeing his bruised and bloodied state, rushed to his side. She nuzzled him, expressing her admiration and pride. The other lions, too, acknowledged their champion with approving glances and soft growls. The lion, despite his wounds, felt a surge of pride. He had defended his kill and his pride's territory against all odds. And as they shared the spoils of his hard-earned victory, He knew that their unity and strength were their greatest assets. From then on, the tales of the lion's bravery against the hyenas echoed across the savannah, reminding all who heard it that courage and determination can triumph over overwhelming odds. The hyenas, too, recounted the story, not with pride, but with a mix of fear and respect for the lion who had stood firm in the face of their pack's might. And so the cycle of life and survival continued, governed by the laws of the wild, where strength and unity were celebrated, and where respect for one's opponent was the ultimate tribute. That's all for today's episode. Please subscribe to our channel to support us. We need your support to keep producing exciting content for you. Thanks for watching.